Man, I was so mad. I really wanted to turn this episode into a hatchet job. Kind of like this. Okay, so I'm frustrated. Apparently my Bluetti fridge is not working. I haven't brought it on but maybe 3 trips so far. And so far, one trip the handle broke off. And this trip, it showed up at camp and doesn't turn on. It's basically a big cooler, and that wouldn't be a big deal if I had ice. Of course, it's a fridge. I don't generally keep ice in it. So, I'm frustrated. So I'm gonna go for a hike. Okay, so I didn't seem that irritated. But trust me, I was irritated. I just don't have any real emotions. But why was I so irritated, even if you couldn't tell? I've got a lot of really cool camp stuff. I'm pretty selective. Yeah, I'm not one of these YouTubers that's getting all kinds of free stuff. So I go out and I buy my own stuff. And when I pick something out, it's because I think it's cool. I think it's going to work for me. And I'm pretty selective. I'm not afraid to get the good stuff. So when it breaks, and it seems to break without me having done anything cool, that makes me mad. And that's what happened with this Bluetti fridge. Oh, by the way, we are at Joe Wheeler State Park. Yeah, a little hike in for the early part of this video because it just seemed like a good thing to do. Yeah, it's supposed to be a trail run, but not real motivated to run today. So, but yeah. So after I got back from the camp trip, and this camping trip was my Brushy Mountain Trip. If you didn't watch any of those, I went down to the Southeast Overland camping event, and I just wanted to try it a little different. So I went and camped over at Frozen Head instead of camping with all the other expo folks, which seemed like a good idea until I got to camp and my fridge didn't work. So I didn't have anybody to say, hey, mind if I borrow some fridge space? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I lost everything pretty much in the cooler. Cooked everything that first night just to try, but I was afraid to eat some of it. So I'd shown up to camp. I got set up. I was about to cook supper. I reached in my cooler, and everything was just basically room temperature. You know, so it hadn't been dead all day because it would have been warm in that cooler if it had. But room temperature, when I have chicken I've chopped up for, that's just bleh. That's a big fail, big fail. So I got frustrated, closed it up, and went for a hike up the road close to there. But when I got home, I was like, okay, I paid $500 on this cooler. I'm gonna talk to their help desk. And see, this is one of the places where I got frustrated. I really, like I said, at this point, I'm still thinking this is gonna be a hatchet job. I'm gonna be massacring these Bluetti folks because this sucks. And it still sucked at this point. So I jumped on there. I got to their help desk. I emailed it. No response. All weekend, no response. I had I wasn't patient enough just to stick with the email. So I also jumped on there. You can hit the text messages and talk to them. I jumped on there and started sending messages. No response. I was frustrated. And yeah, so I was pretty mad. So I didn't make the video right away. Probably a good thing. Whew. They'll run, they'll talk. All right. So I had all these messages out to them, which confused me when they started responding to all of those messages. So I got all kinds of response from their help desk, or their help desks, I think, as it may turn out to be. From Sansa and Henry and Hank and whoever else. Anyways, all their help desk people seem to be messaging me. I didn't initially notice that they were all messaging me on different help desk tickets. So I ended up with a whole bunch of different help desk tickets, which is where I got confused. Because I thought I was responding. I got this one, finally got one where it's like, okay, we've tried to talk to you enough, blah, blah, blah. And they, you know, and they canceled one of them on me because I guess I was talking to some of the folks and not all the folks. Mostly because I was getting frustrated because they're all asking for the same thing. Hey, send us your receipt from when you bought it. Send us the receipt. And because I bought the cooler through the Bluetti Indiegogo thing, I got sent to the Indiegogo help desk, which just of course made it more confusing for me because I got to track another issue ticket. Not really on them. They have to manage their help desk tickets the way they manage their help desk tickets. But it did confuse me. But all that said, once I got to talking to somebody, it was great. I mean, it really was. I mean, let's be clear though, I was frustrated and irritated by this point. But by the time I talked to somebody, it was great. They didn't ask any questions, you know, beyond, hey, can you describe it or send us a picture, send us a video. I was like, I can send you a video or a picture, but it doesn't turn on, period. It does nothing. So we got to that point, and I think I'm gonna run again. Running like the Statue of Liberty. This is kind of fun. Okay. So they decided they're going to just replace it. Cool. And it was real easy. Yeah, it didn't take a huge amount of convincing them. Don't ask me about my 3D printer. That took a lot of convincing. And they're like, hey, just reuse your box. I buy a lot of crap. I don't keep the boxes for everything I buy sitting around my house. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But I don't. So they did pay for the shipping to have it shipped back. But I did end up having to go and find a box big enough to pack it in and get it packed up and sent. Matter of fact, since I was going to have to drop it off at a FedEx place, I just went to the FedEx place and said, pack it. Now, it's cheaper than getting a new fridge. That's money out of my pocket. And money out of my pocket, I'm not sure I should have had to pay, but hey, whatever. It's over and done with. And I have a new fridge sitting at my house right now, waiting for me to get home and unpack it for you. So let me finish this run and maybe we'll go back, or actually run. Maybe I'll actually run, and I'll go back and I will unpack it. Anyways, let me finish my run, and then we'll go back and check that out. Everything's uphill. All right, it's only 3 days later, and I finished my run, and I'm back. But couldn't figure out where to film this. This thing is huge, and didn't really feel like cleaning up the house to get it. So you're here on the back of the truck. But when you get your Bluetti in, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a nice giant box that's, you know, well contained. Well, you know, it's gonna protect everything. Comes in good shape. And this is what I guess I was supposed to keep, was this giant shipping box to send my Bluetti back in. I've got lots of storage, but I'm not storing everything I bring into the house, especially something this big. So to ship it back, I had to buy a new one. And that's okay. They had to buy their own to send it to me. Okay, so I have finally taken all of the boxed stuff off of this, and now we're just left with the Bluetti fridge. It's a good looking fridge. I mean, check it out. Well, let's talk about this. So some things that you see initially. You have a single door. It opens up like that. And it comes with this big, little box of stuff. And we'll open that up and see what's in it. But we'll put that aside for now. On the front, you got this nice Bluetti text. I mean, that's really pretty, but, you know. And then you have this to open up with a little storage compartment. Now, if you've never used a Bluetti before, or at least the fridge, this storage compartment's not really a storage compartment. It's really a free little bucket. And you're gonna put a battery in here. All right, inside you have more storage. You've got a shallow, and then you have a deep. Now, the way I use the shallow and the deep is I put all the stuff that I use regular and every day up here in the shallow one. I put all the big items, the big containers of meat and everything into the deep one down at the bottom. It gets a little residual cooling from everything else, and if it leaks, it doesn't leak on everything else. So that's how I use it. Over here, you have a second lid that lifts up. It's all taped in. I guess it should be, but it's not useful for this. And this is an ice tray, because this thing makes ice. And again, that's what it looks like on the inside. Those metal grates, that's where your ice gets created. On the right side of it, you have a nice strap mount that I should probably start using. You have your DC input. This is how you're going to power it if you don't use the battery. And you have a DC output. And it's got a USB-A and a USB-C. But I guess if you wanted to charge your phone or something like that, I guess probably have in the past, you can charge your phone there. On the other side here, you have a nice handle, which is not for lifting the Bluetti. I learned that on my first trip with the Bluetti. Picked it up, snapped right here. This is a plastic hinge. So while we're talking about things that might be negatives about it, this plastic hinge is a negative. It's just not really heavy duty enough for this fridge with a battery in it and loaded down with food. But for just dragging it around camp, it's okay. If you have to find a way to get it up the steps when you get home, well, I'm thinking about it, I should show you this. So something else that is maybe a little bit of a negative for me, but maybe it isn't for you. This is how it opens. You pull back and it pops open like that. You can't just close it. You can't just shove it down. You have to lift this back up and go back in. It's a minor thing, and it works. I don't like it. All right, so inside this box, it's got a nice instruction manual that you probably should use, but I don't. It would make a good fire starter. You've got your power supply if you're gonna plug it in. And I'll be clear, I usually plug it in, you know, before I go to camp, have it fully charged. And I keep this with me. I might stop somewhere that has an outlet where I can plug in and get some free power. And sometimes I have to daisy chain everything, and it's just an easy way to daisy chain if I don't have any other connectors. But you do have a 12 volt where you should be able to plug into your power supply or your battery or whatever you have. And you have these, I can't think of the right name for these, that you can hook up to your solar panel. So you remember this box that I said was useless? Well, here's what I use it for. Power supply. All these cables. And it sits there. That's really for at-home storage. When I go out, I usually have a big bag of electronic connectors, and I just throw it in my big bag and go. Now this right here, this big monstrosity, this is the battery that goes in this thing. And it's pretty heavy. I probably should have looked it up, but I don't care how heavy it is. It's heavy enough to know it's heavy. But this is part of the Bluetti SwapSolar, I think that's right, SwapSolar battery system. And it basically, you know, you can have a couple that go in your power bank, and you can have a couple that go in here into your, or a couple. You got one that can go into your fridge at a time. And so you just swap them out and keep it charged. I'm hoping that they get around to making an air conditioning, and then I have a bunch of these already. I got 5 of these batteries, and have a bunch of these already, and then I'll have to buy the air conditioner. Bluetti, if you're listening, I've already sold one air conditioner. If you'll just make one that uses these. Make it so it says Bluetti. And that's how you put your battery in. Alright, so that's my Bluetti fridge. So here's the things you need to know. Their customer support was actually pretty good, but they didn't respond as quickly as I wanted. I got a bunch of them that was on me. It's just part of the story. I had the first generation from the Indiegogo. I'm hoping that was the only reason I've had issues with my original Bluetti fridge. But I did have some issues. So take that into consideration. Otherwise, it's a pretty good fridge. It's got just a few negatives. Don't like the handle. Don't like having tiny wheels. They're hard to roll across big ground. Big wheels. Bluetti, something you can add on. Big wheels in the future. But otherwise, I mean, it's a good fridge. They claim that it has some level of waterproof Of course, they hide it way down deep in the documentation. I don't know that I would, you know, put this without some kind of protection on it when outside on your trailer. The battery swap is awesome. What that means is, with this one battery that can last 2.5 or 3 days, and I have 5 batteries, I don't really have to worry about keeping this thing charged. But if I throw my solar on there and, you know, swap batteries every so often, I can keep this thing going perpetually. I mean, this thing will last forever. Until it doesn't, and I have to use their support. But, you know, maybe I won't have to do that again. Anyways, this is my Bluetti. I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe, comment, go click some links. You know, do that stuff. And I will see you guys on a future episode. Later.